All right, ready? So here we have the digestive system model. We're going to start with the oral cavity. The oral cavity is the opening to the mouth here, this opening. Then you have the tongue right here. Then we have several glands that you need to know. This one under or below the tongue is the sublingual gland. It's one of the salivary glands. You should also have one under the mandible, which is the submandibular gland. Then you have the parotid gland, which is this one right here. In your lab, you probably have a different model, which has a bigger parotid gland, but this one would be right here. The parotid gland is here. Then we have the pharynx. The pharynx is this whole structure from here to here, this whole area. And there's three parts to it, three subdivisions. You have this area behind the nose, which is the nasopharynx. This area behind the mouth, which is the oropharynx. And then this area, this right here is your larynx, which is where you have your vocal cords. So behind the larynx, you have the laryngeal pharynx. So that's this. Then you have the trachea, which is right here. Then you have the upper esophageal sphincter up here. Then you have the esophagus. Then you have the lower esophageal sphincter, which is also known as the cardiac sphincter. Then this white region here is the cardiac region. Then you have the stomach is divided into three portions or three regions. You have the fundus, which is the top region, the body, which is the middle, and then you have the pylorus, which is this curved area right here. So fundus, body, pylorus. Then right here is the pyloric sphincter. Sorry. Then these folds inside of the stomach are called gastric rugae, or just rugae, to make your life simple. Then you have the lesser curvature and the greater curvature. The longer curve or the bigger curve is the greater curvature, and the smaller curve is the lesser curvature. Now, you also have something called omentum, which omentums are going to anchor organs to each other. In this case, this model only shows you the greater omentum. It doesn't show you the lesser omentum, because the lesser omentum is supposed to go from the lesser curvature of the stomach to the liver, but it's not shown here. The greater omentum goes from the greater curvature of the stomach to the transverse colon, which is this right here, and flips and covers the intestines like an apron, but in this case it's retracted. It's this white area right here so that you can see the intestines. Now, once we get past the stomach, because we just went over the parts of the stomach, we go into the parts of the small intestine. So the small intestine is divided into three portions. We've got the duodenum, which is this. If you imagine a line right in the middle here, the top is the jejunum, the bottom is the ileum. The way I used to remember it is DJI. D is for duodenum, J for jejunum, and I for ileum. That way I would never get the order mixed up. Then you have an area where the ileum and the cecum meet. Here's the ileum, here's the cecum. The place where the ileum and the cecum meet is called the ileocecal valve. That's this right here. And then the cecum is the first portion of the large intestine. Now keep in mind that the large intestine is also known as the colon. Okay, so this would be the ascending colon, because it's going up. This would be the transverse colon, because it's going across. This would be the descending colon. And this portion that curves is the sigmoid colon. Now keep in mind, cats do not have a sigmoid, only humans do, okay? So cats do not have sigmoid colon, only humans. Here we have the appendix, and then of course you have the rectum, and the anus, and the external anus sphincter. The external anus sphincter is on the outside, internal anus sphincter is on the inside. The external anus sphincter you can control, it's under voluntary control. The internal anus sphincter you cannot control because it's made of smooth muscle, so you have no control over it. Some professors will call this the rectum and this the anal canal, so it's at the professor's discretion what he wants to call it, but it's pretty much a consensus that this would be the rectum. Now, if we go back up here for a second, let me go over the liver. The human liver has 4 lobes. You've got the right lobe of the liver, the left lobe of the liver. Now notice the right lobe is bigger and the left lobe is smaller. In between the right and left lobe, you have the falciform ligament, which is this right here. Then hanging from the falciform ligament, you should have the round ligament, which is also known as the ligamentum teres. In this case, it's actually bent into here, so you can see that. Then we have the quadrate lobe. If you notice, there's 4 sides to this area right here, so quad means 4. So think of a square has 4 sides, so quadrate lobe is up here. And then caudate with the C, C-A-U-D-A-T-E, caudate, is going to be at the bottom because the word cauda means tail, so it's going to be at the bottom here. Now, you have the gallbladder, which is right here. And then you have several ducts. These are going to be a little tricky to point out in the video because I don't know if you can actually see them, but I'll try. I don't know if my head is in the way, but...
No, you're good.
Okay, so you have the right hepatic duct, and we're only looking at the green at this point, okay? So when you have the right hepatic duct, then you have this split right here in the middle. So this is going to be the left hepatic duct. Where they meet in the middle is the common hepatic duct, right there. So right hepatic duct, left hepatic duct, common hepatic duct. This one coming from the gallbladder is the cystic duct. So this is cystic. Once you get past the cystic duct, this becomes the common bile duct. And it goes all, goes all the way down to your pancreas and forms what we call the duodenal ampulla, okay? Some of these things you may not have to know, so don't worry about it if it doesn't sound familiar. I'm just letting you know just in case. So duodenal ampulla is this. Then you have the pancreas, which is this whole organ right here. The pancreas has 3 parts to it. You get the head, the body, and the tail. Head is up here, the body's in the middle, and the tail is at the end. Then you have the accessory pancreatic duct, which is this small one here in the beginning. Then the one in the middle is the main pancreatic duct, which is the white. And then of course this is your spleen. And again, let me just go over the large intestine one more time just to make sure. You have the cecum, the ascending colon, the transverse colon, the descending colon, and the sigmoid colon. And then we have the rectum. Now keep in mind, some professors call this the anal canal and this the rectum, so it depends on the professor. And this is the anus. Then you have the external anus sphincter on the outside, which is voluntary, meaning we have control over it. And the internal anus sphincter on the inside, which is involuntary, so you have no control over it. And this is, again, the appendix. I think that covers it all, right?